Welcome to Breaching the Boardroom, where we go beyond titles and transactions to uncover the grit, grace, and genius behind extraordinary leaders. I'm your host, Latina Berryhill, and today we are diving into a conversation that reminds us why leadership is both an art and a responsibility. My guest is the amazing Nicole Adewale. She is the co-founder of ABNA, ABNA Corporation. It's a powerhouse in engineering and construction management that's built a reputation for excellence, innovation, and impact. But what makes Nicole remarkable isn't just about the success of her company. It truly is her heart. She's a woman who leads with purpose. She gives generously through mentorship and volunteerism and never loses sight of the values that shaped her vision. In this episode, we'll talk about the defining moments that tested her leadership. We'll talk about how technology and data protection are transforming her industry and the balance between building business success and building a life that matters. Nicole, welcome to Breaching the Boardroom. How are you today?
I'm wonderful, Latina. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to share my story with your audience.
Amazing. We are excited. So before we dive in, I'd love for you to share what ABNA does for those who are not familiar.
ABNA is a full-service civil engineering, design, land surveying, and construction services firm. What does that mean? That we run the gamut of everything that's civil engineering.
Mm,
That includes water, wastewater design, transportation,
mhm.
structural, civil layout. On the surveying side, we do boundary surveys, we do construction surveys, we also provide construction services, which includes everything from materials testing, some construction staking, field design, field observation,
Wow.
and also owner's representation, particularly in the civil infrastructure space.
Impressive, if I have to say myself. Very, very
Thank you.
impressive. All right, let's dive in. So, Nicole, leadership often looks polished from the outside,
Mm.
but it's rarely born from comfort. What was the defining moment that revealed who you really are as a leader? Not the title, but the person behind it.
A lot of my leadership experience has actually come from outside
Hmm.
through volunteerism. And I would say one of the defining moments was when I was asked to be lead a community effort to reorganize and realign services and facilities in the school district in which I live. Shout out to the school district of University City, Missouri. And it was a really challenging it was a really challenging process because there were schools that were going to be considered to be closed, changes in how we organized ourselves, changes in services. And as you can imagine, a lot of people were very passionate, very
Hmm.
concerned about how this would impact their families.
Absolutely.
And so that was probably a defining moment for me in understanding how to lead, motivate, build bridges with people. In fact,
Mhm.
I reconnected with someone who I went to high school with and made a new friend who were the most vocal in the group. And we became just very, very dear friends.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. It's nice to carve out more than just business while you're making an impact from a business perspective, but to also make an impact and build friendships and bridges through that personal touch. I think that's awesome, and again, that speaks to the person that you are and your heart. That perspective on leadership really sets a tone for how you run ABNA.
Mhm.
I've seen some of the remarkable projects you've led, and it's clear that ABNA is leveraging technology in powerful ways to create modern and smart and connected experiences for our communities. So, with AI advancing smarter than ever and data protection being so critical, how do you lead a company that's constantly innovating while keeping your people, your clients, and your organization secure?
Absolutely. That is something that since the beginning, we've always invested in technology, invested
Mhm,
in continuing education.
mhm.
And as a smaller company, while we are one of the largest engineering companies in St. Louis, we are still small on the national stage. We're still considered a small business. But what the advantage to that is we can invest in technology for a greater percentage of our people than say a larger company where you really that we might have in some cases we might have the same amount of technology. For instance, some of the engineering software, we may have the same amount as a company twice of our size,
Wow.
but we can afford to really invest in our people. And so with all of the changing technologies, yes, you have to stay ahead of it. You
Mhm.
have to be, as you grow, depend on your people to do the research, to consider that next level technology,
Yes.
and then make a case for it. And in terms of AI, our part of the industry is still there's a lot of great applications for AI in terms of writing reports, in terms of gathering information across numerous databases. There's also, I'm sure, some AI wrapped into some of the engineering software that we have. But at
Mhm.
the end of the day, it is very critical for people to know the output, the expected output. So I tell people all the time, no, we don't use calculus every day in terms of doing calculus calculations. However, we have to understand calculus and understand the types of outputs to come so that when I give an answer or put a number on a plan sheet, should it be point one? Should it be one? Should it be 1,000? Should it be 10,000?
Got it. Understand that. Wow. Um, I have seen some of the kiosks, and I mean just the innovative things that you guys have really invested in and led the projects for. And again, they are so amazing. It's impressive how you've built innovation into the DNA of ABNA while still protecting what matters most. Um, but with growth in technology, I know it always it always brings new challenges and pressures, whether it's deadlines, expectations, decisions that impact your people. Every leader faces moments when values are tested. When
Mhm.
everything's on the line, how do you protect your core values from being compromised?
Great question. We a number of years ago, we were asked to join a project team for some justice centers. I'm not saying that we didn't pursue any justice centers, and I can't tell you that there isn't some work on a justice center that is in our portfolio way back in the day, but it's not something that we felt would be a core value, given the history of our families, given the history of our community, that we wanted to pursue and make money off of.
Okay.
But a more specific example, when data centers began to really become on the rise, say 10, 15 years ago,
Mhm.
we were invited to work on a data center in Kansas City, but the service that they wanted was mechanical engineering, I believe. And we didn't have that in house. We still don't. We do have electrical engineering in house, but we didn't have mechanical. And because we didn't want to take on something that we couldn't check ourselves. Yes, it's people do that all the time. Smaller companies team with larger companies to gain capacity, to gain expertise in a particular area, but it's generally something that's not too far off from what they've done.
Mhm.
But something that is just not part of our wheelhouse at all, we just said no because somebody could tell us it's right, they could make a mistake,
Yeah.
and then put it back on us because ultimately our name would be on the project.
Yes. I love it. Not just thinking about the money, but also about
Mhm.
the integrity of your organization, and you as a founder. Love it. So you've built an incredible company while also building an amazing family. What does balance really look like for you now? And how have you learned to give yourself grace when the balance isn't so perfect?
Great question. I have four amazing daughters. Four amazing daughters. Yeah, they are, the last two are in college.
Okay.
And the oldest two are fully grown, independent adults, although, of course, they still ask for, favors here and there.
Yes.
But I would say, starting from when they were little, they made sacrifices
Mm,
for the greater good of our family. For instance, there were trips that we might not have been able to go on when they
mhm,
were small. But although we tried to make sure that we were present as at many games as possible, at performances, all of those kinds of things. But then on the other hand, there were many nights when we were either eating fast food or my oldest would make these wonderful dinners of cheesy toast, cheesy hot dogs, and applesauce.
oh, how wonderful.
It was very wonderful, and that was just that was the beginning of our family understanding that we all needed to be there for each other.
Wow.
Right now, I'm in I'm part of that sandwich generation and going through some health challenges with my parents, and they are still stepping up, taking care of me, helping take care of them. And also, I've learned to be transparent as a leader.
Mhm.
Women tend to be a little more comfortable at being transparent, but we also are trying to help the men in our company to be transparent because if you're transparent, and that doesn't mean tell everything,
Right.
but transparent, I have limitations. Be transparent. My schedule is going to be different right now.
Yes.
When last year, for instance, working, taking care of parents, involved in sororities, several boards, and working on a doctorate of education,
Mm,
I decided I was going to take off Tuesdays,
yeah.
and it's still my light day. And so that's how I balance is being transparent, being willing to help, but then also being willing to step up for others when I have the opportunity and the resources to do so.
So a few things. How old was your oldest when she started helping with dinner?
Oh my goodness. Um, she was probably somewhere between 8 and 10.
Oh, wow.
You know, she wasn't using the stove yet. She was just
Mhm.
using a microwave. And then, and ironically, the one behind her is the chef in the family.
Wow.
She's a self-trained baker. But the oldest one, she can make a salad and some soup and real good, and air fried chicken. She's not too shabby. The third one likes to experiment, and she's a pretty good cook. And the fourth one just really likes to experiment. But so they all are self sufficient. They all can cook. They can all follow directions make a healthy, tasty meal.
That's
And then
just
the other thing that failed to mention is that um, I also chose organizations and committees on organizations that had opportunities where I could involve my children. So when they were small, I was heavily involved in my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha. I
mhm,
was involved with the St. Louis Science Center, the National Society of Black Engineers. And in all cases, there were either activities that counted towards service
mhm,
where they could be present and or opportunities that they could benefit from, as well as another organization I've been involved in for well over 20 years, which is First Robotics, which all of my children have either participated in as a program participant and or volunteered for.
I love how you have blended the two and how you didn't make one more important than the other. Um, and just teaching your children foundation right from the beginning and teaching them what family truly means. And obviously it has paid off and it's showing up today as they lend a hand with you and you helping with your parents. It's so wonderful. And then when I think about what you said in regard to teaching men, right, within your organization, that it's okay to speak up and share and create boundaries that work for your life because ultimately I'm sure you want them to be happy and healthy and that means sharing a little bit of what you may or may not need, not necessarily what's all going on. Like you said, just being transparent because if you don't know, then you can't help. And so I absolutely love that. I do agree that women are most times um, more transparent and it's easier for us to speak up about things. So thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. And thank you for establishing that and making people feel safe within your organization.
Thank you.
So, when I think about, I love how you describe what I would say balance. It's something fluid, not necessarily perfection, right? But it's actually presence. It really shows how grounded you are, both as a leader and as a woman. You're known not just for building ABNA, but for giving back, as you talked about, through mentorship and volunteerism. What does that work fulfilling you personally? And how has serving others shaped the way that you lead, both in business and in your personal life?
Um, so I would say both my partner and I consider ourselves servant leaders. We wake up every day, and while we may have tasks, we may have meetings, a report, or a contract to read. But at the end of the day, at the beginning to the end of the day, our
Mhm,
job is to serve the people who work for us,
mhm,
whatever that looks like. If
mhm,
that looks like there's a spill in the hallway and it's not the janitor day, and I got to go get the mop, I'm gonna go get the mop. If it means the water went out, the water tank went out, and we got to order a new one, we order a new one. If it is an employee melting down because they had a recent health diagnosis or a family member challenge, and I've got to close my office and sit and listen,
mhm,
then that's what I have to do. And gaining that kind of experience from various places in the community, whether it is from serving in faith communities, whether it is, you can learn a lot of dynamics serving in a faith community because there's such a wide range of income, experience, life balance. Uh, in my sorority, which has thousands and thousands, and there are hundreds in my chapter alone. And again, still all college educated, but still all with so many different life life challenges and life advantages. So many different personalities. And I look to take all of those experiences back into my company. Um, Leadership in the community has also afforded access to different people that I might not have had close relationships with just networking through business.
Mhm.
I mentioned First Robotics, and for many years, I have or run and organized a tournament for First Lego League in our school district
Wow.
in partnership. Remember, with that woman I mentioned earlier who challenged me when we were doing the community effort. She became one of my not one, she became my closest collaborator in that space.
That's awesome.
And we would host anywhere from 200 to 300 um, participants and guests. No, if we had 24 teams, it might have been 300 to 400 people a day. And anywhere from 200 to 250 of just the kids by themselves, and then not counting the volunteers. But because I would recruit within the business community, I had, for instance, the number two female at MSD at the time. She was the head of construction. I had, before Bayer merged with Monsanto, the head of administration, worked at my events. And I jokingly say I got to be their boss 2 days out of the year. But what that did is they got to see me, even though they were my clients, they got to see me in a leadership role. They got to see how I worked, how I communicated, how I cared and looked after people, the detail that I put into making sure that everybody had every single thing that they needed to be successful during the day. Same servant leader model. My job is not to determine the outcome of this event. My job is not to stand out in front and rah, 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 get on the microphone in the morning and the afternoon, and that was it. My job is to make sure that the young people had a good time, there was a fair competition, and make sure that my volunteers, who were giving up an entire day on a Saturday or a Sunday,
Yeah.
felt important, felt warm, felt taken care of.
And it wasn't an act. It was you allowing them into your space to genuinely see who you are outside of the office, the boardroom.
Yes.
You have talked so beautifully about how giving back fulfills you and keeps you grounded, and I think that's such a powerful reminder that leadership is about more than work. It's about the
Mm-hmm.
people that we lift along the way.
Mm.
You have you've reached a level where leadership isn't just about performance, it's about permission. How do you use your seat at the table to create a space for others? And it's a two-part question. What responsibility do you believe every leader has to mentor and to sponsor the next generation?
Okay. Minor curveball.
Okay.
Creating a seat. Actually, I um, have done presentations on creating a seat for others at the table. I think that's important. In fact, that is one of the things as I've gotten older, I've realized it's not only a passion of mine, but it is a gift of mine
Mhm.
to walk into a space. So, for instance, and sorry to other school districts, but I am a self-proclaimed advocate of the school district of University City, Normandy, and Jennings. Um, and so, when I walk into an opportunity, I think about and I think about other organizations too, but let's just say it's an opportunity that relates to education. I walk into the room, I'm not looking for what I can get out of it for myself.
Mhm.
I'm looking to figure out what can I get for one of those school districts, for those children, for maybe an administrator that I have a relationship with. And in fact, it's so funny. Um, Let me answer your question directly because sometimes I can go down a rabbit hole, but ask me about first Lego League tables. But creating a seat for other people is really, truly important. And I think that when you walk into a room in a space
Mhm.
and you don't see people who either look like you, come from your high school, your college, your neighborhood, uh, or nobody is representing any of the organizations that you're in or on a board of. There's you go to a big church like mine, nobody from my church even knows about this, then it's my duty not to sit there and be the first, not to be the only. When we started our company, I was very young, not many females, not many people of color in the many rooms that I went into. And
Mhm.
at first, I felt a sense of privilege and pride that I made it into that room first. But after a few years, when you're still the only person in the room, you realize it, I need to use my position, my privilege, my platform to bring other wonderful people into this room. So that's what I feel is really important in terms of that. I think that when you've been invited into a space, if you're a true leader, you're not invited into that space just to elevate yourself. You're invited into that space to elevate the people around you.
Yes.
And and so then when you talk about mentoring and sponsoring,
Mhm.
I have had the privilege and the honor over the years to help other small businesses become connected. A media organization that I am involved with, I was able to help bring an organization to the table that has thrived. There's a youth organization founded by a high school classmate of mine, was looking for someone to come and teach classes. I didn't have the time or the energy to do so. Introduced him to one of my sorority sisters, and she has been able to take her leadership model and bring that to that organization.
Mm.
So it's something that I try to do routinely. I recently introduced the owner of one of the largest female owned bakeries to the owner of one of the largest female owned spas and hair salons. Um, and that was Sweetheart and Locks of Glory. They know who the other person is, but I was able to introduce them friend to friend
Wow.
and make that personal connection, which was really nice. But there's a great opportunity that about sponsorship that I would like to share briefly, and
Sure.
it's back to that volunteering.
Mhm.
We used to live in North County in Blackjack in a subdivision called Trailwoods. And again, when the kids were small, I got very involved in going to the city council to advocate for different things for our subdivision, whether it was safety, whether it was opportunities for children to play, amenities within the municipality. And the mayor noticed me and asked me to sit on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Was seated next to this very kind elderly gentleman named George Tomasi. And George found out that I was a civil engineer, and I decided to in the spirit of an ancient text written by a gentleman named Habakkuk in the second chapter of his book. Shared my vision with him for our company because we were at that point starting to organize our company and trying to figure out what where we would go once we grew out of we started in our house, but we needed someplace else. And we were going to get something really small in Blackjack close to our house. He said, no, 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 nobody's going to come up here. You need to be in the city. You need to be in the Central West End or downtown. And he asked to meet my husband, who's also my business partner. And they went nearby to, I think it was Applebee's. And my husband bought him a $12 salad. And they talked. And at the end of the day, at the end of the meeting, he told my husband, he said, I'm well known in the engineering community. If you're having any trouble getting in to talk to anyone, use my name. And people we had even called on the week before, we said, hey, I'd really like to tell you about our company and our services. And by the way, George Tomasi said that you would be a good person to talk to. And they were like, George, let me move my schedule. Can you come tomorrow? And then years later, my husband was awarded Engineer of the Year, I think through the um, Missouri Society of Professional Engineers. And my husband was able to thank him publicly for all the things that he had done for us.
Wow. Wow. It comes full circle. Everything that you
Yes.
pour in certainly comes back. You said that you feel like it's a gift. And through the stories that you've shared and the experiences and just getting to know you, I would say I absolutely agree. It is certainly a gift, and you are wonderful at it. And you give so graciously. It's not forced. You can tell it's enjoyable for you to actually help others and connect others. And so I say thank you for all that you do, all that you've done, and the amazing woman that you are. Um, Nicole, this conversation has been rich in wisdom, purpose, and authenticity. Like, you've reminded us that leadership isn't just about building systems and teams. It's about building people, protecting what matters, and leading with heart in a world that's driven by innovation. For those listening, let today's conversation be a reminder. Integrity still wins, innovation still matters, and giving back is what truly sustains great leadership. Nicole, thank you for sharing your story and your heart with us today. Before we wrap up, for those who want to learn more about you and ABNA, where can they find you online, or how can they connect with you and the work that you guys do?
So you can find us. Our website is www.abnacorp.com. And you can also learn more about us on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn just as Nicole Adewale. My business partner is Abe Adewale, and we routinely post under ABNA Corporation. And if I may, before we leave, I'd like to first thank you for the opportunity to share my story. I would also like to thank my grandmother who's passed on, Maddie Mae Morris Hutcherson, who was the first entrepreneur that I saw in my life, and like to thank my father, Robert Hutcherson, and my mother, Jane Hutcherson, for all that they poured into me and the examples they showed me of leadership, of service, and also building community.
Wow. And that you have passed on to your children and within your organization. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, the website is www.abnacorp.com. That is ABNA Corporation. Thank you again, Nicole, We appreciate you so very much. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for being authentic. And thank you for being a wonderful leader. I'm Latina Berryhill. This is Breaching the Boardroom, where we don't just talk about leadership, we redefine it. Until next time, lead boldly, serve deeply, and never stop building what truly lasts.